It's Saturday night. Saturday night, 11:23 p.m. Wind advisory is in effect for the area. Doesn't get better than that, right? We got weather coming on a fun Saturday night. Hop on, we'll talk some models. See how many people we get on here at like midnight. It'll be good. It'll be party time. And if you wake up and you watch this, and you can say, okay, we'll see how it changed in the morning. So it'll be good. I'll give everybody a minute to get in here. I know I didn't announce this one because I was in charge of Warren tonight, so I had to put him down for bed, and I did not know how long that would take. And then obviously I wanted to get on. I wanted to analyze a little bit before I just came on here and said, "Oh yeah," like acted like I knew what I was talking about. So we will go over some models in just a second. I'm starting to see some people jump in, but again, wind advisory is in effect. Flood watch is in effect for pretty much all of Connecticut. We do have what I believe to be a potent system on the way, a robust system. That's been the buzzword lately in the meteorology community. But either way, I think this one's going to impress a lot of folks. I think this one is the real deal, unlike the one last weekend where we did start kind of trying to backtrack on that the Sunday of the storm. I think I met with some of the emergency managers on Sunday, and I told them less words that it wasn't going to be a big deal. I don't think I'm going to do that with this one. This one looks a little bit more intense. This one looks a little bit more serious, and I'll show you exactly why. So without further ado, let's get to the modeling. This is the latest HRRR extended. So this is a high-res model, shows you a lot of details, but it goes out a little bit further than some of the other high-res models. So take that with a little bit of a grain of salt, but it does a really good job depicting just how awesome the storm looks or is going to look on satellite and radar, and just how potent I think it'll be when it reaches us. So right now it's down in Florida. It's hanging out in the tropics on the beach. Almost has a little like a subtropical look to it. It is December, so we're out of the tropical hurricane season, but this thing is a monster in terms of the amount of moisture. I mean, really the whole state of Florida, Georgia, South Carolina covered by rain tonight. So like that's just a lot of precip. Usually storms, you don't see that kind of coverage. So again, as we go through time, this is a one low system. So it's not like it was last weekend where there were multiple centers trying to fire along a front. Again, I don't want to get too technical, but this is pretty much just a one trick pony as it tracks up the coast. And again, you can see just how big this thing is. This is when we first start getting into rain here in Western Connecticut. So this is going to be early tomorrow afternoon. I think we see rain break out, light at first, kind of a similar pattern as we saw last weekend, right? Light rain at first, it'll gradually pick up. By the evening, you'll get into steadier rain, and then overnight, it turns into a downpour. The only thing with this one is I really think this is more of a Monday morning storm than anything else. This is going to be a Monday, 4 a.m. to noon, 5 a.m. to 11, whatever the window ends up being, it's going to be the Monday morning commute to midday Monday. That's when the worst weather is going to get in. Again, I'll fast forward here. And the models are in really good agreement on this. This isn't just one model showing this. This is like all the models. And I can flip around for you in a second here if you're interested. But a lot of model support on the track of this, on the strength of this. We're looking at a really strong system. And just look at this, right? This is firing up serious convection here. I can zoom in a little bit too now that we're kind of, yeah, look at that. Right, so Connecticut right here. DXR is the little airport code for Danbury. And as you go through, this is now the height of the storm, in my opinion. So this is 9 a.m. Monday morning. We're into some serious convection. And unfortunately, on this model, also some serious wind to go along with that. And when you see these, these shades of yellows and oranges and reds, that helps that wind that's aloft mix down to the surface. So that's one of the reasons that I'm bullish on winds this time, and I wasn't necessarily last time. Can we get a translation to snow if it was 20 degrees? That's a good question, Christopher. It would look about 2 to 3 feet, if not a little bit more. So that would be the snow translation. The only snow we see, though, on the map would be in Pennsylvania right now. So that's really it for this storm. Look at rain all the way up into Canada. So kind of a depressing storm for December. If you're a snow lover, even for the ski areas, just not a good look right there with those ripping southeasterly winds. But eventually it does turn to some backside snow here in Pennsylvania. But again, the big story for us going to be the wind, going to be the heavy rain. Yeah, this is just a really, really windy look to me. I hope the low ends up tracking a little bit more east. It's a little bit more east on the NAM model, a little bit more east on the Euro. That'll help us with the wind a little bit. I think we'll still gust 40 to 50 miles an hour pretty much no matter what. But if this actually happened verbatim, 55, 60 can't be ruled out. And that starts to get really concerning, even in December with the leaves down. If you get winds to that magnitude, true high wind warning criteria met, that's not a good situation for power outages. And nobody wants to deal with that right before the holidays. So hoping we kind of top out with my current forecast, 40 to 50 miles an hour, scattered to numerous, where it's, there's some problems, but it's not a super widespread thing. It's not the worst storm we've seen in years, or however they make the headline. And then the storm finally wraps up. I mean, this is like, it wasn't originally forecast to go on this long, but it looks like it's going to be around with us pretty much all day Monday. So this is now mid-Monday afternoon. It gets dark at 5 o'clock. So this is I think this is 5 o'clock right here. And the rain's just finally kind of exiting the state. Might get a little bit of clearing as the day ends, but again, it's pretty much a washout for most of the daylight hours on Monday. To just look at the winds quick, appreciate you guys being on here at 11:30 at night. We might as well look at the winds, get a little crazy. It's going to be too strong. I'd suggest taking this with a grain of salt and taking about 20%, 30% off of these numbers before anyone freaks out. But it's not a good look for the wind here. Yeah. Okay. I hadn't even looked at these numbers yet. So let me zoom in a little bit more for you too. We can try to get right into Connecticut here. I need cities, Hartford. Yeah. Not a good look, right? So again, even if we take 20 or 30% off of these wind gusts, I'm still concerned. So even if it's spitting out 70 miles per hour, which will never happen, if we get a 70 mile an hour wind gust in Danbury Airport, I'll retire. But I think even if we took 20% off of that, you're still looking at gusts in the mid 50s, and that's still concerning. So that's where I'm at with, this whole situation right now. It's just not a good look on these models. So, while I showed this one is a little bit more extreme in terms of wind. I'll show you another one really quick that's probably a little bit better, hopefully. Nope, just kidding. Okay, so this is the brand new NAM, and it's a little bit stronger than I was anticipating it to. I hadn't looked at this yet either. But you notice the wind did come a little bit west. So that was kind of or east, excuse me. That was kind of the trend with this. Is the wind, the strongest core of winds has been kind of moving east on the modeling. So let's hope that continues and we don't get into any of these scary gusts. Again, please take 20, 30% off of these. Don't go run and tell anybody, oh, Jack told me it's going to be a 75 mile an hour wind gust in New Haven. Please, don't do that. But again, it's still a concerning look, even with the normalized values. To look at a couple like more global models really quick. Again, we're having model fun at 11:30. This is the GFS, latest one, 63 mile hours wind gusts in Danbury, around hurricane force as you get into New London County, Rhode Island. So again, concerning look. Again, I adjust 20, 30% down, and we would hopefully get closer to 50 miles an hour, which is the forecast, right? The last one I'll show you is the Euro. The newest Euro is not out yet, so we're gonna have to look at the 6 hours old version of this, and this is a little bit more friendly, right? But still, even if these values verified, which again, I think this is more realistic. This is probably the most realistic one I have to show you. Even if these verified, we'd still be looking at issues, right? New Milford, probably mid 50 wind gusts. Danbury, mid 40 wind gusts. Waterbury, 50s, 60 on the coast. Those are going to cause scattered numerous outages, right? So that's why the current forecast is the way it is. Again, I hope it trends in a favorable direction, but I'm not confident that will happen. So, yeah, let's see. Getting a couple questions here. Hopefully it goes out to sea. Too much rain. Yeah, it's probably not going to go out to sea, but we can all hope, right? And then actually, let me show you before we log off of the model. And that is fun. Here. There we go. Yeah. So this is the amount of rain that the models are going to print out for the area. And again, these have a lot of support. So it's not just I'm showing you the crazy model. They're pretty much all like this. 2 to 4 inches of rain, locally higher amounts. European model has Danbury at a nice 3.38, which is a lot of rain, especially considering we got a lot of rain last week. And that's going to do some cause some issues in terms of urban and poor drainage flooding, stream flooding. Could even get to some low to moderate levels on some of the larger rivers like the Still River. But let me show you the GFS so that, again, Euro, keep that in mind, 3.38. GFS is right around 3. Really has been consistently calling out this area. And I'm wondering if it's the southeast wind direction, a little bit of orographic lift, a little bit of topography up here into Litchfield County. That's really the only thing I can kind of think of why it keeps calling this section out. But Waterbury 3.5, Danbury about 3. And again, just a lot of rain, a lot of wind coming no matter how you slice it here. The last thing I'll show you, let's look back at the short range, and we can look at the precipitation for those. I think it'll probably be a little bit higher. They tend to do a little better with calling out the wrong run here. They tend to do a little bit better in calling out the convection, which helps them achieve a little bit of higher numbers. So again, I'll go back to Hartford. Clicking the wrong buttons. There we go. So again, as we go through the storm, yeah, about 3.5 to 4, even locally like a 5-inch spot up here on the Connecticut-Massachusetts line here on the HRRR model. And if I go to the NAM, I think the NAM was even more juiced than this was. The NAM, I think, was pretty impressive. Let me see. Yeah, so 4.48, locally 5-inch amounts into interior Connecticut. A lot of rain, a lot of wind. I don't know if I can say it in any other way. The models are pretty clear here at this point. Renee, the classic question. Well, do you think this will affect school on Monday? I'm starting to lean that way, especially if those wind values that we saw were anywhere close to, verifying. If we get 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts and this amount of rain, I don't see it being a situation where you can safely have kids in school, right? Because there's going to be flooded roadways. There's going to be trees coming down. The soil is really soft right now. We had a lot of rain last week. The ground is not frozen by any means. This is not a good situation for trees getting uprooted or dead trees coming down. And the tree guys will tell you that too. I've talked to a couple guys and they're like, Jack, if this happens, if we get 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts, if we get 55-mile-an-hour wind gusts in a situation like this, we're going to have problems. So, I think this is the real deal. And that's what I continue to say. I think the storm's going to impress some people in terms of the amount of wind and the amount of rain. Again, hoping for trends to the east. Maybe the low tracks right overhead and the winds kind of stay to eastern Connecticut and Rhode Island, but somebody's going to get a lot of wind out of this. And I think it's going to be all of Connecticut. Any other questions? We need cold and snow. Yeah. Again, long range. We can take a quick look at that. See what the pattern is. Now I'm doing this off the cuff, so just bear with me here a second. We'll look at the weeklies, and we're going to have to do, yeah, perfect. So when we look at long range forecasting, there's a couple options you can look at. I picked the Euro just to show you really quick to see when winter might show up, because that's a question that I keep getting is when is winter going to finally show up? And we will see here. I want upper air heights. We'll do that. Yeah. So this is that big storm that's kind of coming through right now. This is not really a good look here for snow at all as we head into Christmas time, having a ridge up here, which is why nobody's really forecasting a white Christmas. It, in fact, might be one of the least white Christmases across the continental United States on record, which is pretty impressive. But here, this looks a little bit better to me. So now you have a western ridge. This is coming into January. Western ridge, eastern trough. That's a much better pattern for winter weather, especially here in New England. And that pattern kind of continues, right? You have that dip into New England. That's a good sign for us. So that's all the way through basically January 1st to the middle of January, and then it kind of breaks down late. But that's a decent pattern for snow. So I do think it will snow in due time, but it's definitely not going to snow in the next week before Christmas when everybody wants it to snow. Any other questions I missed here? Thank you everybody for tuning in. It's really awesome to have this many viewers on close to midnight. I know it is Saturday night and everybody's having fun, but yeah, I really appreciate you tuning in, and we will see what happens. Obviously, fresh data comes out every 6 hours, so I'll get a new. Usually, I like to wait until about the 10 a.m. hour because then I get better short range data in. We can kind of take another look at the winds, see if there's any last minute trends. The storm by that point will be into the southeast, so we can track it on radar better too, and we can see if we really think school's going to be canceled on Monday. But other than that, thank you very much for tuning in. Appreciate it. Have a great night.